Greetings.
Hello.
My greetings.
Well met.
Greetings, traveler. Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Hello and welcome to Concede, a Hearthstone podcast that is dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. I'm joining you live from Gadsden, New York. My name is Ridiculous Hat. From Karazhan, California, we have Bodius.
Hello.
From the Maelstrom, Louisiana, we have Appa.
How's it going?
It's going okay. It's actually a good day. Today's a good day. And from out there, from where you are, listener, it's you. And we are joined by you, and we're supported by you. If you'd like to find out how you can support us and receive rewards in return, head to patreon.com/coinconcede. You get many benefits at many different levels. The $5 benefit, for example, you get early raw access to all audio we record, including, but not limited to, our exclusive interview with Alec Dawson of the Golden Wisp that we did earlier today, like an hour and a half ago. And he's a super nice guy, as you may know, designer for Hearthstone, and former podcast host and former New York City resident. Now he's over in California making the game. So we recorded the interview earlier, and we want to play that back for you. So now, live listeners, don't worry. We have to do this bit because we're recording this for later, and we're going to splice in the interview here. But if you're here right now, at the end of our episode, we're going to play the Alec interview, just the audio file. We're just going to play it for all of you that are out here listening. So don't worry, you'll be able to get it. You can get it from the Twitch VOD, whatever you want to do. It'll be in the final podcast as well, which should be coming out probably Saturday, if I had to guess. I'm going to try and edit it tomorrow, but I'm going to assume it'll be posted on Saturday. But if you want to hear it today, right now, and you're not currently a $5 patron, at the end of the episode, after we do the outro, I'm just going to play the whole file through and leave OBS up and running. So don't worry about that. You'll be able to get it basically right away. But this is the spot when we do the full show where the interview will be playing. So I'm gonna mark that now for removal. All right. And we really appreciate Alec coming on our show to do that interview with us. Really great answers. I wish he had taken more of a side in the hot dog debacle, but very non-committal. He really did receive that media training, so they do a great job over there at Blizzard HQ. And, well, I guess now we can get into Life and Ladder. So, Bob, how's it going?
Pretty good. I played a little bit of Ladder, not a whole lot. I've actually been really enjoying not Dalaran Heist. Did I put Dalaran Heist in the show notes? Holy cow. I did.
You did.
I meant
yes.
I meant Tombs of Terror. So Wing 3 came out today or yesterday. When is it? What is happening? I don't even know. So
Bod, which expansion are you playing currently? What year is it?
But
sure.
are you playing Combo Priest? Because it seems like you got everything topsy-turvy.
I have not, actually.
Whoa!
I have not played any of that. I would not stoop that low. Anyway, so been playing Tombs of Terror.
Is that a short joke? Is that what you're saying? Because I'm short and I've been playing Combo Priest? Is that what's going on?
I mean, people keep claiming I'm the Priest main, but I haven't played Priest at all this expansion, and yet somebody else seems to play Priest pretty often here who also claims not to be a Priest main, which I find very interesting.
I like killing people on
Tombs
turn
of
4.
Terror. Have you ever seen this treasure? It's called Lucky Spade. It's a passive that says after you discover a card, add 2 additional copies to your hand, and they all cost 2 less. It is busted. It is so good. So I got that in one of my runs, and made very short work of that whole run.
Wait, so I've never seen this card. So you discover a card, you get the discovered copy, and 2
and
more,
then all three
are
cost
2 mana cheaper.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was really good. even all of your when you have kind of like a bad discover, even all of those is still just nuts. And so yeah, I got to play with that. I just had so much fun with that one. And then there's like discover a card and gain a mana crystal for each boss you've defeated this run, which just refills your hand. There's just so many really cool treasures. I've really been enjoying this. I know other people are saying it's more of the same, but it honestly feels way different to me. So yeah, I beat Wing 3 Heroic, I think earlier today. It took me 2 times to get through the Plague Lord, which is I don't know, it feels weird. I kind of wish that there was a way to reset it without having to beat it where like you could just go at another 300 HP boss because what I found with Dalaran Heist, which is the one I was thinking of, is the best wing was the last wing because there's 12 bosses. So it really felt like you got to progress your deck through all 12 rounds. It really felt like you got to play it. And so this last boss is almost like it's 3 bosses in one. And that feels like I get a full run out of my deck. It feels like I really get to put it to the test um in that last boss. So that's what I've been doing. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that like sometimes more is better, um, and sometimes like I, I don't mind the idea of a phase being particularly difficult. Like, but I don't mind the idea of not having to go back to it. The I think it was the second Plague Lord, where the first phase where they rotate everything, where every turn they rotate all the minions.
That's always super annoying. Yeah.
I don't mind that I only had to do that one time, and I'll have to do it again I'll have to do it again for heroic. But being just getting past that 100 damage mark and then not having to do it again is kind of cool. But then also, yeah, it would be nice if there's some kind of like hero mode where you could just not have the health save. I don't know. I haven't really thought about
Yeah.
that.
It's interesting, but overall, I really been enjoying it.
Yeah.
I tried out Priest and Druid for this last wing because it was the new one, and I kept getting the Bob card where you can change your hero power, and I just always kept changing it to the one that took forever to get, which is whenever you play 2 spells, you get a Moonfire every turn, and that's a really fun one to play with,
That seems good.
especially because I get to play with one of my favorite cards ever, which is Lyra.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yes, that's a priest card. I understand that's a priest
That's
card, but
Gadgetzan
really,
Auctioneer.
it's a rogue card because it reminds me of Gadgetzan.
Yeah, which is also a
Auctioneer.
neutral, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I don't know, the Tombs of Terror seems harder, but part of me thinks that it's just because the hero decks that we get to play with are a little weaker. Like, I don't think it's necessarily that the bosses are harder. I think it's that the decks that we have aren't quite as good as they were for Dal Heist.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It feels very similar. Everything feels very similar to me until you get to the end boss, and then that boss feels like a real boss instead of the other ones where it kind of felt like you either had a good draw or you didn't, and that's how you beat the boss. Whereas this one, there's lots of planning involved. You really have to think of the long game. You really have to plan out that this game's going to go 30, 40 turns maybe to beat it if you want to beat it in one go. And I found it really hard to beat it in one go.
Yeah, it's quite difficult unless the Alchemist Stone tracking device deck that I had built for the first wing, that was easy enough to do in one shot, but you don't always get there. And yeah, my run on the second boss, I had a run that I thought was it because I got 2 Scrolls of Nonsense in the Reno deck, which is the +10 spell damage at the beginning of the game, and every turn it goes down by 1. I got 2 of those, and so that's +20 spell damage on turn 1. And I had a Flame Geyser that always started in my hand, so turn 2, that's what? Turn 2, 18U every game. That was good.
20, right? Because it already does 2. It does 2, and then you
and
have
ticks down
spell
twice,
damage
right?
twice.
Or no, it ticks down once. Yeah, so it's 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of damage. Like turn 2 double pyroblast, it was pretty good, but they have 300 health, so it's the early bosses very easy in that run. They just died. Later bosses took a little longer.
Have you seen Gnome Obliterator?
Which one is that?
2 mana spell, deal 10 damage, and then it also deals
Oh,
10
yeah.
damage to the Plague Lord when you fight it.
Yes.
Which was interesting. I was really hoping to get some Shadow Visions nonsense going on in some of the earlier bosses, and wasn't really. It's weird because it felt like the bosses were easy to do, but it was not easy to stall out the bosses where you're trying to get extra ticks with your armor to unlock a different hero power or get extra spells or stuff. Felt like you had a very short window before the game could potentially get away from you in a lot of those.
Yeah. And speaking of doing a lot of damage, I want to tell you all how I got Legend. I was playing with Jombray's Token Aggro Shaman, which is really, really good, by the way, and you should play it on ladder, and the link's in our show notes. And I was playing against a warrior, and they were at 32, and I had 6 minions on board. I think 4 of them were 1/1s and 2 of them were O2s, totems. And I top decked Vicina, so I go Vicina, Lightning Bolt, your face, Bloodlust, and then they were dead. For those counting at home, that is plus 30 damage to all, plus 5 damage 6 times, plus the lightning bolt, plus the existing 4 damage, which is 37, and they were at 32, so they were dead. So I'd recommend doing that, and also playing that deck. It's really fun and really good. Vicious Syndicate shouted it out in the report that we'll again cover in the tournament meta section. That it's a really low sample size, but it's performing so well that it's worth discussing anyways. And it's very similar.
I also recommend sticking 6 minions against a warrior. That seems good.
Well, you just keep making minions, but yes, okay. Point notwithstanding, they played both brawls. It was not enough. And it was very similar. I think it was like under 5 cards off from Appa Shaman. So, also recommend Appa Shaman.
Yeah, his list is honestly a good bit different from mine. Like, I haven't played it yet. Not because I don't think it's good, but just because I can't honestly imagine a world where I'm not playing Spirit of the Frog right now.
Yeah.
That card is just messed up.
Froggy Boy is very
3
good.
3-mana Gadget Stand Auctioneer?
Yeah. Yeah, I do like the Froggy Totem. And the only other bit of personal news that I want to share before I hand it over to Appa is I found out this week that through support of an undisclosed source and getting me a ticket, and through support of my wife and giving me permission, I thought we couldn't afford BlizzCon, but we struck a deal. She has the best deals anywhere, trust me. She's the real Gadget Stand Auctioneer. Where she is allowing me to go solo to BlizzCon because we can afford it. So I'll be at BlizzCon. Yay! Hooray.
That makes me really excited.
Yeah, let's play a soundbite.
Not gonna pretend to think that I didn't already kind of know this might have possibly been in the works, but I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's a money thing, but then it worked out because the wedding was a little bit less expensive than we thought it was going to be, and people were nicer than they thought they were going to be to us. So, yay, BlizzCon. So there will be some. I don't know the plans currently yet, but if the plans work out the way they do, then we might have some car casts going on when me and Bot are there. So we'll see. Appa, I'm sorry.
Rip.
Yeah. But Appa, you've got some stuff going on too. You've got a lot of stuff going on. And also, I saw my friends list had Appa and Bloodyface next to each other, and both were casually top 100 legends, so, nice job, buddy.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I haven't played a single game since I hit top 50 until yesterday, I think it was. And then I played a game at rank 77, and then got up to rank 69, and then I said, all right, job here is done. I'm gonna go do something else. Yeah, I know ladder like doesn't mean anything right now aside from just like bragging rights and stuff, but like my ladder anxiety has just been hitting me like super hard whenever I like go to queue up. So it's been hard to get myself to do that, but I got myself to do it yesterday, and I'll probably play some more tomorrow. and I plan on playing a decent amount in the last couple days just to see where I can finish. But yeah, I mean, being in top 100 again feels really good. I feel like I'm getting a lot of my confidence in my playback. Since I haven't been playing a ton on the America server, I have been messing around a little bit on EU. I have Lackey Rogue on there, which Hat saw my replay from last night where I basically rolled as high as possible every single turn on my druid opponent. And
The person that was maddest about that game, by the way, was your fiance.
yeah, she was watching me, and she was very upset for my opponent. Partially because she hates Rogue, and partially because what I did to them was just disgusting. And then I also have a budget version of Holy Wrath Paladin, which I've actually been climbing with, which is kind of fun. I don't have the Kangor or prismatic lenses, so I'm playing double loot hoarders, and then I forget what else I have, but it's been working fine. Like, obviously the prismatic lenses would be significant upgrades, but I've been climbing a little bit with that. It's been fun. My goal on EU is actually to hit legend with that deck, like a budget version, like that budget version of Holy Wrath Paladin. See if I could do that, just for something challenging to do. And then on the side, I've been playing a little bit of WoW. I have like one character at level 10 and then one at like 13. So been messing around on there whenever I'm bored or like downtime between like homework or whatever. It's something like relaxing to do because I don't have to put a lot of brain power into it. And then been playing a little bit of League because the World Championship for that is next month, and I like League esports, and I got sucked back in. So I've been playing some of that, and then also been playing some Magic Arena because that new set is coming out. It actually just came out. So,
when are you sleeping? When do you sleep? You're playing like 4 games.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm balancing plates. it's a lot. And then on top of that, been doing school stuff, reading books and writing papers. Actually, I have to read 100 pages of The Hobbit tomorrow because I have an online class for it's like studies in the novel, and it's only like the first half of the semester, so it ends October 13th, and it is an entire class worth of material in half of the time. So it's like, here's these like 9 novels you have to read. Have fun. So yeah, my days have been busy. And we actually got a gym membership again at the Anytime Fitness that is probably like 2 minutes walking distance from our house. So we went there last night, and then I went there this morning after class. And I've started actually getting up early, like at 7 o'clock. And then what I would used to do, since I have to bring Taylor to work every day because we only have the one car, I would wake up at 7 and then bring her to work and then come back home and sleep until I got to go to class, and then go to class, come back home, sleep some more. But what I've been doing recently is like getting up at 7, taking her to work, coming back home, making coffee, going to class, and then like getting on the computer or something. And then today I went to the gym. So I feel significantly more productive than I have in years, and it feels like there's way more time in the day now. So I'm gonna start doing that some more. It feels weird, like morphing into an adult, but I guess that's where we're at.
You ever want to talk calendar color coding schemes? Come at me. I got you.
Oh yeah, I'm on that
A
one.
date book. Do you have bifocals or half cut reading glasses?
I do not.
So you got to get on that, man. Yeah. School season, a lot of stuff going on, but also there's some stuff going on in Hearthstone. Why don't we talk about that?
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
All right. So it seems like every week just keep getting hit with these big announcements, and today was no different. We got this huge announcement that they're going to be bringing a bunch of wild cards from wild into standard for a temporary period of time. So basically, this post came out.
Get in here!
Oh, I hope not.
But
so,
it could happen. It could happen. Imagine scarring a whole new generation of
oh
players
no,
with that
oh
stupid sound.
no. And we have the new whirlwind where you can cast it a lot of times in one turn. Oh, okay. So far what we know of is Rag the Fire Lord and N'Zoth the Corruptor are already going to be coming back to standard, and along with 21 other cards, which is kind of crazy because I mean Ragnaros got Hall of Famed because it was in every deck. Now I don't know that it still would be in every deck, uh, because we have a lot more cards and the power level of cards in general has gone up a lot. But what do you guys think about these two specifically? Since these are ones we know about for sure.
Gone up or down? So power level gone up a lot. Do you mean?
Gone up, right? Hasn't power level overall of cards increased?
No.
Compared to, like, if you take the average of the format, where when Rag and Sylvanas was in every deck,
I
wouldn't
mean,
you say the average power level of cards is higher?
but Rag was also being played when Yogg-Druid was around, and like that
Yeah,
deck was.
I guess it depends on what environment we're talking about, but
Yeah. Like so the
Yeah.
first Hall of Faming was also when Azure Drake rotated out. That was not the Whispers year. That was the year after, right? That was the what was the big set that year? Ungoro. That was the Ungoro year. Took away Azure Drake, Rag, Sylvanas, Power Overwhelming, Conceal, and Ice Lance. Those 6, correct? Yeah, that was with
Well,
Ungoro.
wasn't that the idea though, that these cards were so much more powerful than everything else that they were mostly auto includes in the majority of decks, so there wasn't like a decision on whether or not you wanted these in your deck. So like, wouldn't that mean that the power level of the rest of the cards was more in line, and then these were power outliers?
yeah,
Is
I
that
guess I
wrong?
could see that.
Well,
I
like,
didn't mean to like needle you and make this a whole thing. I was just.
but this
I
is
was
a
just
thing. This is
wondering.
a thing.
No,
because
this is a legit question, because I in my opinion, I think the cards right now that we have now are better than the majority of expansion cards that we've seen before.
So majority is difficult, right? Because if Rag and Sylve were legal for Year of the Mammoth or Year of the Raven, they wouldn't have seen as much play, anywhere near as much play. Because Year of the Mammoth and Raven, which is also right when it rotated out, right when we lost those cards, is when we saw the huge spike in power. Ungoro was insane, obviously. Then Knights of the Frozen Throne, and then Kobolds, notably powerful year. And then Gen and Baku kind of made it hard to include decent, neutral, good stuff cards. Now, I think the even decks would have probably found room, especially even Paladin, would have found room for Sylve and Rag, because they cost 6 and 8, and you can just put those right in the same deck, and they're fine. And that would have been probably really infuriating. So I'm glad they didn't do that. But now, the thing about Rag and Sylve is they're low commitment power level cards. Like, you don't need to make the rest of your deck do anything for them to be good. You just put them in your deck, and they're fine. A highly synergistic deck doesn't have room for them, doesn't want them, because they don't play into any particular synergy. But for a deck that's just trying to do whatever, any mid-range deck, any kind of slower control deck, you can just kind of throw them in there and not worry about it. And the reason those cards, along with Azure Drake, were Hall of Famed was because they removed deck building decisions, was the marginal situational improvement some other 8-drop would offer, better than Rag being kind of good every game. Like, the floor of those cards was really high. So they Hall of Fame them because it wasn't a decision you really ever made if you had them in your collection. I remember Appa specifically actually talking about this when we first played Ungoro games. And he's like, I went to build decks, then went to my 8 slot and thought about it for a while. Because it used to be just like plop and rag and go about your day.
And then they created Lich King one set later.
Sure, but then Lich King went in way too many decks, and then it turned out it was fine as a mid-range curve topper or in Big Priest, and otherwise was kind of mediocre. Like, Rag just did a lot, and you couldn't really silence it because then you just gave your opponent an 8/8. I don't know. I think
we see the return of BGH.
Maybe. I don't know. I would say the card power level right now is pushed in different directions. I don't think these are more powerful cards. I think they're more synergistic cards that are more board relevant. But I think the most powerful cards in the game were in Year of the Mammoth and Gen and Baku, outside of maybe League of Explorers.
Okay, that's fair. It was a kind of a question I had. So all of these cards, so this is going to be an event, unlike the Rise of the Mechs event that we had, where the cards just stayed buffed. As far as we know, they're going to stay buffed because they haven't said anything about, other than the ones they already reset back to where they were. These cards are only going to be available for that period of time. And don't worry if you dusted these cards because you thought, oh, these are wild cards. I only play standard, I'll just dust them. You do not worry about recrafting them because they're just going to give them to you. Whatever 23 cards they decide on, they're just going to give it to you for the duration of the event, but they're going to go away afterwards. So don't go disenchanting them because then once the event goes away, you're not going to have them anymore. And if you need to use them, you might have to recraft them. So just things to note about that. Now, just kind of almost right before the show, we had a list of cards that have been kind of leaked on Twitter. And the thing is we don't really know, because this just happened, we don't really know about any validity to this or if this is even real. It's rumored that potentially even some of the grandmasters already know what the cards are, and that's kind of where this leak might have come from, but we don't have an official response on this. The only response we have at all is that Alex Charsky said, specifically, hello everyone, nobody in this channel is authorized to give you additional information beyond what was shared with the community. Please wait for the announcement date. So we have a list of cards. If we don't know if it's real or not, so we're not really going to delve into it too much because it might just be rumors. So and we don't even have to wait that long. October 4th is only about a week away, so we'll know for sure what the cards are in about a week, which is exciting. And I can't wait.
Yeah, and there's a lot to dig into here. If the Grandmasters have all this information ahead of time, I think we can all agree that is bad. That is a bad thing. And if they don't, I mean, that's good, but it's
I mean, it's bad if it's like for a tournament, right? If it's for ladder play, it's not ideal that they would know about it, but it's not, since ladder doesn't mean that much, like we've agreed, it doesn't mean that much. And if they're going to be using it specifically in Grandmasters and not in any tournaments, then it would almost make sense that you would want them to kind of have that information, right?
Sure. But it's just, I'm surprised they haven't come out in
a future tournament.
Well, and it's 2 weeks before Bucharest. The announcement is October 4th. Bucharest is the 18th. So I'm kind of surprised that esports hasn't made any kind of clarification of, will this affect the giant tournament that almost certainly guarantees who the next NA Grandmaster is or not. Kind of surprised there's no clarification yet. And I'm kind of surprised that the answer given by the head of Hearthstone Esports is wait for the announcement. Like, I mean,
but we don't know when this event is even going live. We just know when the cards are coming out. So it's very likely, in my opinion, that it's just Bucharest will happen, and then maybe the week after is when these cards are going to be live in standard. That would make most sense to me. Obviously, we don't have that information, but
I mean, the week after is the week before BlizzCon, and then they're going to announce a new set a week later, and also that means it'll still affect BlizzCon Worlds, which I guess is only GM anyways, so that wouldn't be as much competitive integrity. I hope that's true. I'm surprised they wouldn't just come out and say it, and I think the reason they're not saying it is because they can't say it because it's probably not true.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But we wanted to make sure we reported on this, even though it's all kind of just rumors at this point.
Yeah.
Couple other really cool things actually. They have you're gonna have a new class portrait, and it's for getting 1,000 wins with a class. And boy, the 3 that they spoiled look sweet. They actually look really awesome. And just kind of rewarding people who've been playing this game for a really long time and giving you another goal after your 500 win golden portrait to go for. And I checked, I don't know if you guys know off the top of your heads if you already have this many wins, but I have 2 classes with over 1,000 wins. Can you guys guess which 2 they are?
Rogue and Priest.
No.
Rogue and Shaman.
Okay, hold on. We have breaking news. 2 minutes ago. These cards are going to be legal at Bucharest. Just got announced. Hearthstone Esports said, so Hearthstone Esports, hey, thank you for letting people know early. I'm glad you did that. I am glad you did that, Hearthstone Esports. This kind of paints the cast in a little bit of a different color. So we'll come back to this 1,000 portrait thing. I think we should probably talk about this for a minute.
So go ahead. What I mean, this is literally like on the spot.
Okay, so like
announcement.
Well, Appa, how do you feel about the fact that we're going to get a list of cards in the 4th, and they're going to be legal for the tournament the 18th, and it's going to be a new format that we cannot predict?
Honestly?
Yeah. No, be dishonest. I want you to lie. Yes, honestly.
I kind of like it. Which, I don't know. Even if I was competing in the event, I think I would like it. Because I think a lot of where my edge comes from in tournaments, and my success in tournaments, is building lineups and kind of attacking from like a different angle. And I'm actually like going through my head right now because Zabe and I have been looking to practice and like jam lineups against each other and stuff. And actually just messaged him like 30 seconds ago, and I'm like, well, I guess we got to scrap everything because he's going to Bucharest and we're going to have to figure out some stuff. But I think it's definitely good for viewers because you're going to see a lot of sweet stuff. And I don't know, I think it's going to be good for players who... Creative's not the right word, but it's the one I'm going to use. Players who can be creative and come up with like unique lineups and stuff. And there's going to have to be like way more testing than would have like previously happened with just the meta as it is right now. I don't know. There's just so much to unpack here. I kind of like it. I like whenever formats are shaken up before big events. This is something that they've done in like Magic for a long time. It's like whenever a new set gets released, usually they'll have like a pro tour like a couple weeks after or so. They'll usually schedule it to where like a new set comes out and then there's a little bit of time for like teams and players to test and stuff. And then there's a pro tour where people can like play with the new cards and like show off what they've tested and stuff. And I've always liked that a lot. I know not everybody's on that same page as I am, but I don't know, I like it. It's definitely more work, but I think it's going to reward some players that you may not see be rewarded if the format stayed the same, if that makes sense.
Well, they've done this twice this year too, right? They did this with Conquest Worlds, which was right after the format rotation, and they also did this with Saviors of Uldum. That event was like, I think it was 2 weeks after the set came out.
So this is filled with positives and negatives, right? So huge positive for viewership, I think. I think this is going to bring a lot of people to watch this. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about Bucharest. I know I'm super excited to watch. Bunch of new decks. I'm assuming we're going to see bunch of new lineups. Exciting. Huge negative though is that all of these people that know they've been qualified for Bucharest, a lot of them are already practicing and have put in a ton of hours and are essentially you just throw all of that out now. Basically, all of that work that you've done up until now is mostly just trashed.
Well,
Like,
I mean, sort of, but also not necessarily, because you still you still have all the same cards in standard. So like you have a baseline to work from. So I mean, this could honestly like reward the players who have been testing a lot in a way, because if this was me and I was testing for like the past month or whatever, or since the balance changes, and this got announced, I already know like all of the best cards in standard, how they all interact together, and what the baseline for all the best decks are. So whenever we get the full card list, um, then I know like I have a foundation to work on, if that makes sense. And I think that actually puts the players who have been testing already like ahead of the players who haven't tested as much. Because
unless a totally new deck enters the format though, right? Because then
yeah,
it throws out all the testing. In my opinion, it's very similar to when you kind of were under the assumption that Bucharest was going to be a specialist
Yeah.
until they went back to Conquest, and now it's Conquest again, and it's just kind of pulling the rug out from under people again. It's obviously, I think it's great for viewership. Overall, I think it's a huge positive. Um, but
I
there are just these little things that are kind of is messing up some players' plans to try to do well.
yeah, I think the way I would put it is overall in terms of viewership and for competitors, I think overall it's a positive, but it definitely brings a number of inconveniences with it. But I think the positives for spectators and the players are probably going to outweigh those inconveniences. Like once you get over them, because I mean, like 2 weeks to test is pretty decent amount of time, honestly. Like obviously you're going to have a lot more work than you would have otherwise, but I think 2 weeks from knowing what the cards are to Bucharest and like deck submission, I think that's ample time for most players.
Well, and like this is philosophically consistent with how Blizzard is looking at their game from a competitive standpoint of the the tournaments and grandmasters are meant to be content, right? Competition, but content. And they want it to have cool new stuff. And we've had that 3 times this year. We had Conquest Worlds, which was super entertaining and had a brand new format with the end of the tournament format. We had the first Specialist Masters Tour, and they introduced the twist of making the deck list semi-available right before the event, which made things really interesting. Um, and then we had the Saviors of Uldum Masters Tour with what was the last one? God, my memory's terrible these days. Soul. We had the Masters Tour Soul, which had the brand new set and the brand new format, and now we have a brand new format in a way that we didn't even know was possible to shake things up. So they clearly want to shake things up. The timing of October 4th as well, that's a Friday. If they patched in the following Tuesday when they normally do patches, that means the week after that will be Grandmasters playoffs, which means this will also be live for Grandmasters playoffs and Masters Tour Bucharest and BlizzCon Worlds, which is basically all of the competitive events that Blizzard is running in a 4-week period, which is a huge change. And I think I agree with Appa that everyone getting even playing time means that this is a better event for deck builders. Because typically in the past, when you have stale formats, at the end of the format, the edges tend to get smaller because everyone has more experience. And if you really want to reward the minds of your game that are good at cracking the nut instead of iterating and learning strategies that other people come up with. You want to have a format with some novelty in it. But the big issue is if the GMs have an unfair prior advantage. Because if they do, that's not acceptable. It's not okay.
Yeah, I agree there. If, and big if, because
we don't know.
These are rumors. Want to make that very clear.
Yes.
If the GMs know what the cards are right now, and everybody else is in the dark until the 4th, I just think there's things that are obviously wrong with that that I don't really need to go into.
Yes. But we don't know. And hopefully it's not true. And if it is true, then hopefully Blizzard doesn't do that again in the future. But Bodigus, you were also saying there's other cool stuff included in this patch. What were you saying? What were you talking about?
I was just going to see if you guys could guess my top 2 classes, and it was a debate because I wanted you to guess Priest, and it's not even close. Priest is not even close to my second most played class, which was Druid, by the way.
Druid?
The only two I will have 1,000 win portraits of are Rogue and Druid. And Rogue is 200 wins ahead of everything else.
Yeah.
And I haven't played Rogue basically all expansion except for like 10 games with that Singleton Rogue deck. So, yeah. Rogue's good. But
Appa.
also I played a lot of Token Druid.
Appa. I'm going to guess your number 2. What's your number 2? I'm going to guess Paladin.
Overall or just on Americans?
Well, it's for portraits. Let's say America's portraits. I'm assuming Shaman is number 1.
Yeah, Shaman's number 1.
I'm assuming Paladin's number 2. I'm going to guess Paladin.
No, it's Druid.
Yeah.
Because I played a lot of aggro and combo Druid.
Yeah. Oh, and didn't you play a good amount of Jade Druid?
Yeah, for a bit, but there were also 4 months where I didn't play when Jade Druid was good.
Yes.
Yeah,
we got too good. You can't earn when it's too good.
I think I have like 1,400 Druid wins, and then I think it's like 700 Rogue wins on Americas, and then like 650 on EU. And then I don't remember what Paladin is. I think I'm above 1,000 with that.
So combined, you have a ton of Rogue wins.
Yeah, it's my second. It's definitely my second most played class. I like Rogue. Rogue's fun.
Do you have 1,000 wins on everything, Rogue or Pat?
No, I only have 3. I have one class at 963, but I have 3 classes over 1,000. Y'all are welcome to guess.
Rogue.
Number 1 is Rogue by a large margin, by over 200 wins.
Yeah, I don't think Priest is up there for you.
Nope, that's number 6.
I would guess Warlock for sure. 100%
yes.
Warlock.
Yep. It's my 3 classes are Rogue, Zoo, and Doomhammer. Are all over 1,000. And then Warrior, Fiery Warx is at 963. So we're close.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I don't even have 500 wins on Warrior.
What?
I hate that class. I actually just hate that class.
Yeah, and then my dead last is Paladin at 633. That class bores me a lot. Sorry, Cream Puff is in the chat. Who is also saying he has 5,600 Druid wins. God, that's a lot, man. You gotta bring back Top Deck Kings and stop playing Druid. What are you doing?
Shout out to Top Deck Kings.
But yeah, it's Rogue is number 1, and then Zoo is number 2, and Zoo's my second love. My first love in this game was actually Control Warrior, but those games took too long.
Okay, now y'all are making me check. I'm pulling up the client real quick.
Okay.
We're doing it live.
All right. Go on to the next
while you're pulling that up, I'll quickly just say the last part of this big announcement is that they're going to have a couple small quest changes, and those are the daily quests that give you the gold every day. They're basically going to get rid of some of the ones that people keep re-rolling, because obviously that means people don't want to do them. And they kind of have just split most of the daily quests into 2 buckets. You have the easy ones, which are 50 gold, and the slightly less easy ones at 60 gold. And now, if you want to just get a quick quest done every day, you can re-roll the 60 gold quests to 50 gold quests, and you will always re-roll a 60 gold quest into a 50 gold quest, which is interesting. Not really the way I think most of us want to do it, because I think at least us very invested players always want to just re-roll 50 gold quests into 60 gold quests because we want to get that extra 10 gold because we don't mind playing a little more. But yeah, it's a cool little change. I mean, it's just like little optimizations that are really good to see. It shows that they're not just only paying attention to the huge wide sweeping changes like adding 23 cards from wild to standard. Holy crap, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah. I was hoping that when you re-roll the 50, you automatically got the 60. Like, I like that you can
Yeah, that'd be
always
nice.
downgrade a quest, but why can't you always upgrade a quest? I guess because, I don't know. I feel like that you should always get one of the other half. Oh well.
Oh well.
Overall,
All
still like a lot of the stuff, and I hope they cut that weapon quest. I hate the weapon quest. Play 10 weapons. Or they
Does
can
it
make...
not count?
It doesn't count the
Really?
dagger.
Does it?
No, it does not.
Oh.
No, I have
Yeah.
daggered
Otherwise
on
it'd be
2
easy.
a lot, and no, it does not count.
What's your favorite quest?
Total domination.
Yeah, win 7 games.
Because you can play that one. You can do that one in solo content. I want to go back and redact what I've said in the past. There was a podcast like 2 months ago where it was like, I just go in solo content, do my quests. I had gotten total domination that day, and didn't realize that it didn't apply to other quests. So please don't go into solo content and try and play 50 druid cards because it won't do anything. It's Tavern Brawl works, but solo content only works with total domination, which is win 7 games.
Yeah, you have to play games against other people for the majority of those.
Correct.
I think my favorite quest. It's not the easiest to complete, but I think my favorite quest is Murlocalypse.
It's a good one.
one.
Well, okay.
It's a pretty good
If you hold Underbelly Angler till turn 10, it gets way easier.
Yep.
I like the deal 65 damage to my opponent and then try to get it done in one in one game.
Do you
if you're
just
playing against
keep
warriors,
re-rolling
super
warrior?
Easy.
You're just like, is my opponent a warrior? Nope, concede. Do you just like hit the rank floor and then
No.
just go in? Do you
No,
heal
you just
them?
see you see how much you can overkill them when you're gonna kill them.
You're one of those.
All right,
Yeah,
so
maybe.
I finally pulled up my classes. So Shaman's at 3090,
Ugh. Woo.
Paladin's at 954. I'm actually surprised. I have Hunter over 1,000. I didn't think I had that many Hunter wins. I have 1,075. Warlock. I guess I did play a lot of Q-Block, like a lot. It was a 1235. Druid's 1578. Mage is over 1,100. Rogue's 776 on here. And then I don't think the other ones are very close. I think
That's
those
a lot
are
of
like
shaman.
the other.
You play a lot of shaman.
It's a lot of shaman.
I'm honestly kind of disappointed that it's not higher.
Yeah, a paltry
Appa's
3,000
like,
wins.
I wish I had 10k wins with shaman. That'd be
Real
Yeah.
talk, every time I see like Fibonacci or Zetalot like show off their numbers and I look at mine, I'm like, those are rookie numbers.
Okay.
We need to
Zetalot
get those
has
numbers up.
40,000 priest wins because he doesn't play any other class. If you added all your wins together, then you would have what Zetalot has. He's played more Hearthstone than you and only played one class.
Oh yeah.
Kind of insane. Anyways, speaking of
40,000.
priest, by the way, he said, segueing.
So. Ixar made a tweet in response to a thread where Sottle was involved, where they said they were basically considering removing Divine Spirit from Standard, but it would come with some other sweeping changes, adding 23 wild cards. But it's a maybe. It's not for sure. It's they don't feel like it's a huge issue right now in current Hearthstone, but it might be for future Hearthstone. So that's interesting. I will say that I called it, that Divine Spirit was the problem. Extra Arms did nothing wrong. Well, it did some things wrong, but maybe in combination with Divine Spirit. And I know you guys don't agree with me still, but yeah, Divine Spirit's always been the problem. It's
Oh yeah,
a little
no,
too
that's
powerful.
that's true. It's just the problem is also that Priest Classic set is a dumpster fire, and if you nerf that card, then you take away Priest toys again. because every winning deck they've had has been built around a broken 2-mana classic spell, and they got rid of one of those this year. So you either put the class out to pasture for a year, or you let it keep the one toy it has for now, until you buy it some new toys.
So I have. It's not a theory. I guess it's closer to a hypothesis. I don't know. It's speculation, kind of tinfoil hatty. But what if they're doing this 23 wildcards thing to get a feel for like how these cards play in standard? What if they're going to just start like move some cards from different classes to Hall of Fame and replace them with cards that have rotated out? Like, what if this is like a test run for that?
Cool, do it.
So
Do
basically,
it.
rotating classic / core set.
Yeah.
I saw that theory on Reddit, and I like it. I hope that's what this is. I really do.
Well, and
Yeah, can we get rid of like Totemic Might and Fork Lightning for like playable cards? That'd be sweet.
Hey, Fork Lightning is actually closer to playable now that you can use it when they only have one thing out. So you don't want to use it, but every once in a while you get it off of a random effect, and it's not the worst thing you could have gotten. Totemic Might almost always is.
So, something that Blizzard has done this year. Remember when they buffed cards and then nerfed some of the cards they buffed? Originally, before the standard rotation, the first one with Whispers, there was that summit where they had a bunch of top streamers and players, and they talked about how a big important part of Hearthstone was that your cards felt like your physical cards that didn't change. They were yours. They were your possession. That didn't work out, because then they printed Undertaker, and you can't do that. You have to change it. And they learned after printing Bone Mare and Corridor Creeper and the Rogue Quest, which is
basically all of Year of the Man.
Yeah, and if the Rogue Quest was meant to be permanent, like it's just covered in Sharpie and sticky notes and held together with duct tape. Like it's not a permanent thing anymore. It's been through the washing machine.
It's cut in half and held together by bubblegum.
Yeah, they've been training us this year to be okay with the idea of cards being impermanent, to be with the idea of the format being fluid, by both removing the red X. Red X is gone. And if the card goes away, the game will build a new deck for you. And then they buffed cards and gave you a new card for free, a legendary, a golden legendary, and then nerfed some of the cards they buffed, like, no, we're just going to put it back, and just kept changing things repeatedly. And now they're giving us cards and then taking them away in the same time. So they are absolutely testing human reaction to cards being mutable objects. And if this is the lead up to that, I think it is brilliantly executed. I think they're doing a great job. And if it is a lead up to something else, then we will wait and see. But I hope that theory is true, because it makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So that's Divine Spirit. A couple little quick items down at the bottom here. As we talked about earlier, Tombs of Terror Chapter 3 came out. This one, you're going to have the gimmick for it, or whatever you want to call it, is you're going to have a dormant minion on the field, and as your minions die, it ticks down on it, and however much that minion that's dormant cost, that's how many of your minions need to die before it just summons it. And you get some pretty crazy ones in there, like Void Lord and Sylvanas, and basically a bunch of terrors. So pretty interesting. Definitely check out Chapter 3 if you bought Tombs of Terror, because it was a lot of fun. We had a small client patch, 15.2.2, where they just fixed the Titanic Lackey art, and there was a bug with the Plague Lord's health. I forgot exactly what this is. Do you remember what it was, Hat?
If you did heroic Tombs of Terror, the Plague Lord's health did not save. So you could deal it 100 damage, it would go back. It would stay at whatever health it was. I think you could damage it once, but then it didn't go below that damage health until you beat it. Like, the health didn't stick.
Okay.
So.
Well, yeah, so those are a couple little small bug fixes that happened. And then the last news item here I wanted to talk about real quick is that everybody remembers Ixar's famous card brackets he used to do on Twitter, which were fun to participate in. And we even had episodes where we dedicated portions of it to this. He's got a new one coming out where he's just going through everybody's favorite card. And I wanted to ask my co-hosts what their favorite cards in Hearthstone are. Do you guys have one in mind? If not, I can go first. Appa, you look like you have one in mind.
Absolutely. I will.
What is your favorite card?
I will give you 3 guesses.
Did you bring some fish?
I assume not that one.
No. 2 more guesses.
God, is it
Crackle?
All right, no. Why do you guess these ones that we know are not right? Because
I want to make fun of Shaman.
I was gonna guess Bloodlust. I think that's an awesome card that could potentially be on there, but maybe not.
Close. Top 5. Hagatha the Witch.
Good answer.
All right.
Favorite card, not close.
I would have assumed 2 mana Flame Tongue over Hagatha, but I'm not surprised it's close.
It does exactly what I love in Hearthstone. It kills some stuff, gives you a little buffer, and then starts giving you value. It's not like oppressive value. It's just like little bits of value here and there. And then your opponent's out of cards and you have 10 in your hand. You're having to throw stuff out of your hand for card space. It's great.
All right, Appa. Specifically you, what do you think that my favorite card is?
Draconid Operative?
Nope. I'm asking you specifically. Hat, what is it?
Tomb Pillager?
Oh, no. Edwin Van Cleef.
I get it now.
I love that card.
It's a great
Probably my favorite card, if not Auctioneer / Lyra.
Is Operative top 5?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I know we both played a lot of that one.
Either that one or Potion of Madness.
God, that card was so messed up.
Or Radiant Elemental, maybe.
I liked Radiant Elemental.
No,
Potion of Madness,
not.
I don't miss at all. I hated that card because just every single turn you'd be like, okay, I'm fine if they don't take my thing and hit me in the face with it. For 1 mana. 1 mana. Especially when they would play any of the Shrinky Dinks.
All right, Hat, is your card Tinker Sharp Sword Oil?
That
Cold
is
Blood.
Top 5. 1 mana Cold Blood's number 1. And then Dark Peddler and Death Spite.
Ooh, Death Spite.
Yeah.
All right.
So, really love all those cards. Prep is like 3 mana reducing prep. If they kept prep at 3 mana, then that would be higher up. But 1 mana Cold Blood, it's just perfect. It's just so good. Just everything.
I think my top 5 is like old grindy shaman cards. It's like Hagatha the Witch, Mana Tide Totem, Thunderbluff Valiant, and then I'm not sure what the other 2 would be.
Ooh, Thunderbluff Valiant.
I love that card.
I dig Thunderbluff Valiant. I dig it. And I mean, I got a soft spot for Maelstrom Portal. I like Maelstrom Portal. I'm a fan. I also
there's so many fun cards, honestly.
I also did tweet at Ixar to name this the Azure Drake bracket because everybody loves Azure Drake.
Azure Drake is solid.
I hope they bring that card back.
If you have a favorite card, dear listener, I want you to comment on our Twitter post. Just tell us what your favorite card is and why it is your favorite card.
Or if you're like Bonicus and you don't have a Twitter, come into our Discord and comment there.
That too.
Yeah. But someone who may or may not have a Twitter may be posting a thread on the Concede Twitter that you are welcome to reply to with your favorite card. Yay.
And that's news. So that took a while. Let's get into tournaments.
Yes. So let's talk about tournaments and the meta.
It's the Grand Tournament!
Yeah, and also, before we get into it, yeah, Mike Lowe, like, that's the thing. so many people didn't realize that you just play Cold Blood on turn 2. And for the 2 years that Firefly was around, turn 1 Firefly, turn 2 Flame Elemental, 5U. In. So good. The best. It's like Divine Spirit Inner Fire on 1 card for 1 mana. Just get you.
They Hall of Famed Power Overwhelming, but they left the one that was Power Overwhelming that just hung around. That just stayed there.
Yep. Because they didn't want to nerf Rogue for a long time for reasons that are unclear to me, but turns out that Sacred Cow has been brought to the butcher, except for Edwin somehow. Anyways, not relevant. Neither here nor there. So tournaments and the meta. Well, we don't have a lot going on this week, but we want to talk about Grandmasters because Grandmasters has some stuff going on. We're only 2 weeks left in Season 2 before playoffs. A picture is emerging. We've got a few players who are not quite locked, but top contenders. Just saying, Nalgadon and Eddie, top players in the Americas. Like Alec was talking about before, Eddie, formerly known as Sehun628, almost certainly going to make the cut. Hunter Race, Yarla, and Bunny Hopper will likely make an EU. Chiansu is the closest thing there is to a lock for APAC. That region is actually pretty up in the air. No other player has more than 6 wins, other than Chiansu has 9. He's really, really doing well. And a relegation picture is also starting to shape up. Remember that at the end of the season, the bottom 2 performers per region are gone. So be aware that we're going to start getting a picture pretty soon of who's going out. I've looked closely at Americas. I'm going to guess ETC is out, and then it could be Zalay or Race that could also fall out, but we'll have to wait and see over the next couple weeks. Now, as far as what's looking good, a lot of the GMs are bringing pretty similar lineups. Combo Priest, Quest Shaman, and Quest Druid are super duper popular. They're everywhere. Almost everyone is bringing those 3 decks. So there have to be... The 4th deck is changing. A lot of pros really like Holy Wrath Paladin. A lot of people are bringing it. It's kind of still a question mark. A lot of people are bringing Warriors their 4th deck. But remember, you don't have to play your 4th deck. So this format doesn't have a 4th deck problem quite the same way. Because if you just play Combo Priest, Quest Druid, and Quest Shaman, then you're probably fine. And you get to play 2 of those 3, no matter what. So that's really what's happening in a lot of matches. Holy Wrath Paladin seeing a good bit of play, though. It's doing okay. Now, as far as games to watch and highlights, we've got a couple of them. And Bloody Face on his own Twitch stream actually reviewed both of these games. So we have a link to his Twitch VOD as well in the show notes of a Grandmaster going over Grandmaster's games. It's pretty great if you want to get better at Hearthstone. So definitely check it out. Both of these games were nuts. Race versus Bloody Face Game 3. It's a Mech Paladin versus a Holy Wrath Paladin. I'm going to tell you the Bloody Face won this game. I'm not going to tell you how. And the last about 5 turns of this game were unbelievable. Really, really insane. A masterpiece. Bloody Face played his heart out and found a really, really narrow specific line. And I think Race misplayed a little bit, but it involved Bloody Face prismatic lensing his second shuffled Shirvala off of a banker out of his deck with 0 cards in deck to double trade with a lifesteal minion so his opponent could not gain more life. It was nuts. Check it out. And then Bloody Face also covered this other game that we're going to talk about. Tice versus Kalento Game 3. Combo Priest versus Quest Druid. This was a clincher. And Bot, you watched this game, and your chatter about it in the Discord is why I went and watched it, and oh my goodness.
It was just actually nuts. I came in. I did not start watching right at the very beginning. I came in, I think it was around turn 4 or 5, and essentially by that point in the game, it looked like the game was all over. It looked like Kalento was just going to stomp Tice, and I believe there was a mind control tech involved from the Quest Druid, which stole High Priest Amit, and from there the game just got it was so nuts. And it took some insane tight technical play and decisions from Tice to just barely kind of eke his way for so many turns where he just looks dead. And if Kalento draws one of his 2 silences from the deck at basically any point, Tice just loses immediately on the spot. and then the turn where Tice stabilizes, that silence comes off the top for Kalento, and it's not enough to get there. It was just the whole game. I think I was playing WoW at the time, but I wasn't, because I was just watching this game like, what's going to happen? Who's going to draw the card? What decision is he going to make? How is Tice going to get out of this one? And it was some of just the most compelling content I've seen from Grandmasters so far. I really, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend going and watching it and just seeing just how well Tice played a game where Kalento's opening was just busted from what I heard. It's just the optimal Priest opening in a matchup where Priest is already super favored. So definitely check out this game.
Admirable said he thought Tice was dead on turn 3. So that's how crazy the opening was. Really, really worth watching, I agree. We're going to stick it to those two this week, but we do have a brief note. So you remember that Seiko said that he was dropping out of the Auto Chess tournament.
Said he might.
No,
he was probably going
to. So actually, I'm going to look up his tweet longer, because I want to read it word for word, because we're journalists.
I remember specifically reading it thinking that I'm probably going to drop out of this because I don't think I can make it, was the gist I felt reading it, regardless of what the actual text is. It just sounded to me like, oh, hey, I probably can't make it, so I'll probably just drop and do Grandmasters.
Let me read this to you. I learned that I can't handle both games at the same time, and even though it hurts as someone who likes competing, I will have to drop from the qualifier to not lose my main focus. Word for word. So what he meant by that is I'm going to change my account name on the Auto Chess site, still play the qualifier, and then qualify for Auto Chess Worlds. Which he did. And the other thing that I found super interesting while researching this topic is that Asia Pacific Grandmaster Frosty also qualified for the Asia Pacific version of Auto Chess Worlds. Currently a Grandmaster, playing now, only has 4 wins this season so far, but he's playing this weekend in the Oceania Regional Rivals Auto Chess Tournament as well. But we didn't catch him playing that on stream. Maybe he had his camera off, I don't know. But it seems important to note that there are 2 Grandmasters that are in Auto Chess Worlds. And only one got heat because they played on stream.
I wonder what would have happened if Seiko just didn't have his camera on. Gee, I wonder.
There are a few what-ifs here. There's a couple. There have been a few forks in the road for all parties involved that I think we would all wonder what the road less traveled by looks like. But anyways, it's neither here nor there. It's just our duty to inform you as a listener about what's going on, so be aware of that. So TESPA is also going on. It's ongoing through the end of October. This is the Collegiate Championship. There are a lot of teams playing. Don't expect us to go week by week, line by line on this one, because the regional playoffs, which are November 9th, are to the top 32 teams per region, with 4 regions. So there's a lot of Hearthstone to be played here. You will see matches on Monday and Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, which is UTC -4. That is midnight Greenwich time. So pretty late if you're in Europe, and early morning in Asia. But if you want to watch matches on Monday and Tuesday, select matches will be streamed throughout the next, looks like about 6 weeks. Now, as far as the ladder goes, well, depending on where you are in the ladder, your best deck could be Highlander, Hunter, or Combo Priest, or it could be Aggro or Control Warrior. If you're in Legend rank, you should probably be playing Warrior, and probably Aggro Warrior over Control Warrior. But if you're climbing a Legend, you're probably going to do a little bit better with Hunter or with Priest. Jombri's Token Shaman, personally, I found it very good. I got to Legend with it. But the stats aren't really there for it yet. There just aren't enough people playing it. But it may be a big deal. The latest Vicious Syndicate report is out. Make sure to check it out. Don't forget to contribute your data. And we've got some cool decks linked in the show notes. Beyond Jombri's Token Shaman, we have some weird ones. So, a rank 1 Legend Quest Rogue from the China server, which includes Face Collector, which includes Test Greymane, and 1 main deck Betrayal, 2 Pharaoh Cats. It's got a bunch going on there. So that's in the show notes. It does have a Heist Bear and Togwaggle as well, which we haven't seen in a while. We have a Legend rank Totem Shaman, which includes 2 Splitting Axes, which is the 4-mana 3/2 weapon. Battlecry, duplicate all of your totems. And includes Evil Totem, Flametongue Totem, Manatide Totem, 2 Totemic Might, and 2 Totemic Surge. This is... I'm going to call this deck a Clown Fiesta. And it is probably the 3rd least ridiculous deck we have in the show notes. The second is a rank 1 legend Highlander Death Rattle Rogue. Because you can only run 1 Anka anyway, so whatever. Just throw caution to the wind. Who cares? You have to draw your 1 broken legendary anyway. It's not like your deck is any more consistent or less consistent by adding Zephyrus. So that's there if you happen to own a bunch of rogue Death Rattle legendaries you haven't disenchanted yet. Good for you. And then we have a Zoo Priest by MJM. This is 60th place. I'm gonna read a few of the cards in this one. This one I think we need to. So we've got this. I'm gonna read the whole deck list. I'm gonna do this. All right, listeners. This is a priest deck. 2 Abusive Sergeant, 2 Embalming Ritual, 2 Goblin Bomb. Yes, the 1-mana O2 on purpose in the deck. 2 of those. 2 Leper Gnome, 2 Mecharoo, 2 Dead Ringer, 2 Evil Conscriptor, which when it dies you get a lackey, 2 Grand Mummy, 2 Kobold Sand Trooper. What does that card do? I have never seen this card before in my life. What does it do?
2 mana, 2/1 Death Rattle, deal 3 damage to the opponent.
Okay, so this is a Death Rattle aggro. 2 Shadowy Figure, which copies
it combos with your Wretched Reclaimer. Hello?
So this deck
is actually good.
So this is a Witch's Cauldron aggro Zoo Priest with a Death Rattle theme that tops it at 3 mana, except for Leroy and Octosari.
Well, yeah, if you don't draw your Witch's Cauldron, you got to draw 8.
That is clearly true. And then also...
Lots of 0 power minions in this deck.
Yeah.
You got 2 Goblin Bombs, 2 Witch's Cauldrons. Oh, man.
And then Nikolaius, friend and coach for the show, host of the Dr. 3 HS podcast as well. He hit top 200 legend with a Highlander Quest Hunter that's super fun. That's also linked in the show notes. Definitely check that out. That's enough cool decks. That's enough cool decks for now. We've got a lot of them. Also, by the way, don't craft the legendaries for these decks, please. Please don't make a Myra Rot Spring. Don't do it. It's not worth it, man. So, coming soon. Grandmasters playoffs are the 2nd week of October. Masters Bucharest is the 18th. And we also have an open dashboard where Pasca from the No Pros Here team is just posting links constantly for open tournaments that you can enter whenever you want. And he is a great resource for figuring out where and when you can compete, however you want to compete. So come in our Discord, discord.coinconcede.com. Check it out. It's super cool. And if you have a long-term goal of becoming a successful competitive Hearthstone player, it's a great way to find a stepping stone and make your way into that. And speaking of that...
I like how you served that up for me.
Speaking of that, Appa, what do you have for us on tap in Decksplanations?
So, Decksplanations for this week is going to be about setting and achieving your goals. And this is actually a topic that Bonikus and I were kind of bouncing back and forth the other week whenever it was just us two doing the show, but we couldn't really figure out the talking points about it. But luckily my brain was working today, and I got a nice little topic picked out and some good talking points. And I was actually watching a Day 9 stream a couple weeks ago, and this topic actually came up, and he was talking with his chat about how he like sets goals for himself, and we'll get into it a little bit, but I wanted to give him credit for this one because this is totally ripped off of his stream, but it was really interesting hearing him talk about it because it's just something that I do naturally that I didn't like realize that I was doing. And I think just sharing this process could be pretty helpful. So for setting your goals, you have to think about where you want to be, or like what you want to do in Hearthstone. So, for example, like what does that mean? For example, like I want to hit legend, or I want to hit rank 5, or I want to hit rank 10. Like hitting a specific rank could be a goal for you. Like winning a tournament or winning a fireside gathering could be a specific goal. Um, for a lot of competitive players right now, and for me specifically, a goal is like I want to qualify for the next Masters tour, and this goes on and on. It just depends on what you want to do in Hearthstone. You just want to find your goal and kind of just put that like on a pedestal to like work towards. Um, and you're not gonna just magically achieve these sorts of things overnight. It takes a lot of time, and while like while patience is key in working towards these goals, I think the most important thing here is to set smaller marks for you to hit, and I call these like stepping stone goals. And this helps to make the improvement process feel way better because it gives you a sense of progression and helps you to work towards a goal and also find out how to overcome a plateau if and or when you hit one.
Yeah, like remember on old ladder when we reset to rank 16 from legend every month. Um, I remember so clearly a lot of people they'd hit rank 5 for the first time. And then they'd say, "Okay, the next goal is to hit legend." It's like, so that's a big difference between those two goals because rank 5 to legend was half of the journey. Like from rank 18 to rank 5 was about half of the amount of games you needed to play to hit legend. And I remember just people would hit rank 5 the first time, be like, "Okay, the next step is legend," and hit such a wall there. And you're right that it's probably just not setting proper progression or learning what makes the most sense for a next step and making sure you're not setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, I feel like this is a great topic. Something uh, I feel like we briefly kind of went into it when we had Jared Tendler on when we were talking about tilt control. He talked about trying to bring everything together and like making small steps and not trying to just tackle everything all at once. Not taking that list that we made a couple weeks ago of our Hearthstone magical inventory and trying to just work on every single one of those topics at once. You take a couple or take one at a time and just move forward to it. And I think Appa's got some great examples here of at least for him what works for him on getting towards his goals.
Yeah, a lot of this is there's no like true like recipe or secret to success or improvement or progression. It's different for everybody, and it's a constant process. Um, so I'm just going to use myself as an example for this whole chunk of explanations because there's no like specific outline I can give you or formula that you can just plug your stuff into. But I want to walk through how I mentally do this, and writing it down was actually kind of eye opening for me. Um, just in like how detailed I get just mentally with these stepping stone goals towards this overall goal. And so for my overall goal for, I guess, the next however many months in Hearthstone is I want to improve and qualify for Masters Tour Arlington, which is the one in Texas. And that's kind of a big goal. And like if I don't have these stepping stone goals leading up to this, then every time I don't like get in the top 16 non-qualified players on ladder, because that qualifies you to Arlington, I'll probably feel frustrated. Or if I play in a qualifier and I don't just win the whole thing, I'll be frustrated. And that can be like really detrimental to progression itself if you're working towards this goal, but you don't really have a plan for how to do it. Because if you just have the overall goal and you shoot for that, like say this is my goal, and say I join a qualifier and like get top 16 or whatever and don't even get top 8, then it feels like nothing has improved. It feels like I've missed my goal. And then if I join another qualifier and I lose in the first round, then it feels the same as getting to the top 16 and losing. Or if I get to the top 8 and don't win, then it all feels the same. But if I have these stepping stone goals set, like listed out in front of me, and I start to be able to hit these, then I actually have a sense of progression. So for me, these stepping stone goals underneath the overall goal, one of them is to hit top 10 legend. And then under that, first step to hitting top 10 legend is hit legend. And then another goal for me, because it puts you in a good place to actually like climb ranks and like battle for higher ranks later on, is to hit legend within the first week. And then another goal under that hit top 10 legend is hit top 200 legend, then hit top 100 legend, and hit top 50. And then another stepping stone goal is feel comfortable with every meta deck, because the qualifiers are going to be best of 3 conquests, and I'm going to need to know a wide variety of decks to be able to play in these qualifiers. And then under that is play every top tier deck. And so under that, I have play 50 games of Combo Priest. And that's going to change now because of this announcement of these 23 new cards. But it's like play 50 games of like X, deck Y, deck Z. Basically like the tier 1 decks and then other competitive decks. I just want to play a ton of games of those so I have a grasp of what's going on in them and I feel comfortable with them. And if I'm losing more than I'm winning, I want to look up online resources or watch streams or talk to other players who are good with the deck and sort of figure stuff out from there. And all of that is just under play every top tier deck, which is under feel comfortable with every meta deck, which is under I want to improve and qualify for Arlington. So,
and it makes sense as well because really a lot of your stepping stone goals are not results oriented. And being results oriented is so dangerous because you can say I won more in this qualifier, I'm doing better, and then I lost more in this one, I must be playing worse. But the reality here is variance happens in a game where you draw a card off the top of your deck every turn. It's gonna happen. There's randomness. You can't control everything. Also, sometimes you get worse matchups or better matchups or bad days or good days or whatever, but understanding more and practicing more, those are behaviors. And behaviors lead to results, even if the road can be a little variant. So I like this a lot that you're saying, I want this thing, but like, if your goal is lose 50 pounds, your stepping stone is go to the gym. Or even lose 5 pounds, lose 10 pounds. You don't have to lose 50 pounds right away. Just start with 5. It's okay. You have a stepping stone. So, but if you don't go to the gym, you're not going to lose the weight. So make sure you have the behavior.
It's like, I want to lose 50 pounds. Step 1, sign up for gym. Step 2, get in your car, go to gym. Step 3, get on the treadmill. So it's like all of these are little check marks that you hit. It's all a process, and it's all about progressing towards your goal. It's not, I want to lose 50 pounds. Oh, I stepped on the scale tonight. I lost 0.3 pounds. I'm a failure. I didn't lose 50.
Yeah. These are Hearthstone goals, not Hearthstone New Year's resolutions. So, like, make sure that you don't just set this crazy lofty goal that's a huge lifestyle change or whatever. Like, if you hit Legend once, don't be like, all right, top 10, here we go. Because that is a road that is paved with disappointment. If you set an unreasonable goal, the amount of work that takes combined with the amount of adjustment and growth, you gotta be aware of what is realistic and reasonable. And you can't watch a Twitch stream and be like, well, Dog just plays TFT, and then he comes to Hearthstone and he wins the thing. Like, I want to be like Dog. A lot of us want to be like Dog, but you're not Dog. So,
Yeah, and I mean, at the same time, you can also set that goal of I want to be top 10 legend, but you also need to set out this path for you to get there. And it's a lot of way smaller stepping stone goals that you can hit on your way to get there. But going back to my example, um, my next stepping stone goal would be comfortable in this qualifier conquest meta, and under that is build different lineups that do different things, have different strengths and weaknesses, and then just play a lot of sets. Like play different sets with people who are willing to practice with me, and my teammates, obviously, and just get comfortable in the meta and just play until I feel comfortable and confident. And again, this is not a results oriented goal. I try and stay away from those generally. I mean, until we get to the next point, but that's so the next point is to actually win a qualifier. And that's like the end of the steps to get there. And under that is like top 8 a qualifier. And if I top 8 a qualifier and lose out, like whatever, it's fine. Like I top 8 it, we're getting closer. And then like top 4, make it to finals, win a qualifier. And these are kind of hard to like actually use as stepping stone goals, but they're just like little examples I threw down here. Because like Hat was saying, it's a game with variance. Like you draw off the top of your deck, you're gonna have different results and different matchups and stuff like that. But as long as I'm seeing improvement, like in my results and my play, like I'll be happy, you know. But a lot of this is just finding what you want to do, and for me, that is I want to improve and feel like I'm um, capable of competing with the best players in the world and qualify for Masters Tour Arlington. And those are kind of two different goals within themselves, but I think the first part feeds into the second, because if I'm improving and then I feel if I get to a point where I can actually like play and compete against the best players in the world, then given enough time, I will probably just qualify for Arlington like naturally via ladder or the qualifiers. And then to get to that point is just sort of a roadmap I set out for myself where I can have these different check marks basically to check off to where even if I don't like hit top 10 on ladder within like the first half of the month or whatever, like I hit top 200. Okay. That's a start. And then if I fall out of top 200, then whatever. I just play, and then if I get back into top 200, it's like, okay, we're back. We can check that one off again. And then whenever you're climbing on the way up, it doesn't feel like that goal is out of your reach because you're inching closer all the time. And it's all about progress because practice does not make perfect. That saying is BS. It's not true. Practice makes progress. It doesn't make perfect. Because even the best players in the world do not play perfect. Hunter Ace does not play perfect all the time. He plays extremely well because he practices a ton and he makes progress with his practice whenever he practices. And that's the thing. You need to set up a system to where when you practice, it feels like you're making progress.
Meaningful practice. And, like, don't just play 50 games. Play 50 games and analyze them. Don't just play 50 games. Play 50 games against someone that's as good or better than you. And then analyze it with them. Or play 50 games of specific matchups. Or look for specific mulligans. Or something like that. There are so many ways to gain value by gaining information. But if you just turn your brain off and hit the button, it's better than not playing usually. But, yeah, we'll go back to what Jared Tendler said. You've got your A game, your B game, and your C game. And you can practice any 3 of those that you want. But practice on your C game. Learning how to play badly doesn't help you win a qualifier. So you don't want to practice playing poorly. You want to practice playing well. Yeah. Barkis, what What do you think?
I think that's perfect. I think it's good that we have it broken down where it's not just set your goals and then try to achieve them. It's like set your goals and then actually this is the actual how you put a plan together. This is the nuts and bolts of how you realistically achieve a big goal, because I mean, qualifying for Arlington is a big goal. It's not just gonna I mean, it's kind of funny because there is a small chance that it could happen, but if Appa is going to maximizes his chance of achieving these goals, it he's got to do this where you list out everything, because it's very possible that Appa could be like, yeah, I want to qualify for Arlington, and he plays a qualifier and wins it, and that sometimes that's just Hearthstone, sometimes that happens. But if he puts together this plan that he has listed out here, he's going to be significantly more likely to achieve that goal, and it's going to feel better when he achieves it, because it's not just going to be like, oh yeah, I got kind of lucky. It's going to be like, no, I set out what I was going to do. I said everything specifically what I needed to do to get there, and got there.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing here is, while I'm working towards this goal, that even when I like quote unquote fail and like don't hit the mark or just win a qualifier outright, if I can tell that I'm improving, then it's a win because of how I've set this up. Because it's not just I want to qualify for Arlington, that's the end all be all. It's like I want to improve and then qualify for Arlington, and here's how I want to do that. So as long as I can see myself working along these different goals, then it feels like I'm making progress.
And like this has the potential to be the most relevant to not Hearthstone Decksplanations that we've ever done, because like this is how you do a to-do list. How many times do you think like reorganize the house? Okay, that's not, you can't do that. You can't just like reorganize house. Check. No. That's a big process. You have to be like, you have to budget time for it. You have to figure out the smaller tasks, like clean out this closet. Bring this stuff to Goodwill. Go through this thing. Like it's you can't just say I have this week-long task. I'm not going to do any of the breaking down of any of the stuff that I have to do. Or imagine if like you were at a software company. Make game. Check. No. It's you have hundreds of people that are all working together on smaller individualized things that all have to connect together and work and make something happen. The concept of taking a goal or an idea and breaking it down into an action plan with individual actionable bite-sized items that you can do in a day or a minute or whatever is so important. And taking a result and breaking down into behaviors, you have to make sure you build a link between doing this thing and getting somewhere in the neighborhood of this result. And the result may not be what you think it is. It may not be. But you have to make sure that you build that link of, I need to figure out what to do to get this thing. So, yeah, I really like this concept and idea. Smaller explanations, but it's good because we already have a 2-hour episode thanks to our interview. So, anything else to add, boys, or are we going to move to closed out?
Nope. I specifically wanted to make this a little bit shorter because we did have the 30-minute interview at the beginning. So,
yeah, and we got very concrete last week with the matchup matrix, and we're gonna go back to that. We're gonna do that again. We're gonna have like specific nuts and bolts of how to play, not just a deck, but a bunch of mulligans and all that. We're gonna go back to that, and we appreciate everyone's feedback that it was really helpful, 100%. But this week, this seemed like more appropriate. So, we thank you all for listening. In fact, we have quite a few thanks to share. I've been really good at segueing today. I'm unreasonably proud of it. I'm just throwing that out there. So we have a few people we want to say thanks to. Check out our thanks section on the website at coinconcede.com, where you can also find our content info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede, as well as like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CoinConcede. If you'd like some CC swag, head over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Itinerant Wizard, Donald, Pug Ugly, and Doge TK. And our first, biggest, most important Coin Concede is to Alec, and also all the fine folks at Blizzard that helped put this together, Chris, Cynthia, and Cass. Thank you all so much for coming on our little show and sharing that awesome developer insight with us. And Alec, I'll bring you a bagel. I will bring a bagel to BlizzCon. I'll do it. All right, Coin Concedes. Botticus.
Yeah, just big coin concede to Alec and the Blizzard team, and also coin concede to whoever got his ticket to come to BlizzCon, because while I was already super excited about it, I was a little sad that both of my co-hosts weren't going to be there, and I'm still sad that Appa's not going to be there, but I'm very happy that I'm going to be joined by Hat there, because it's going to feel like more of a BlizzCon. So I'm excited.
What about you, Appa?
Yeah, I'm disappointed now that I'm not going. It's kind of a tilter,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Coin Concede, of course, to Alec for the interview. It was nice talking with him and everybody at Blizzard. I don't know. I don't really have too much of a Coin Concede this week. Oh, well, I guess Coin Concede to Ixar, because he's been very active on Twitter and being very responsive. Also, I'm really excited to see his favorite card bracket. That one's going to be fun. I like those.
Yes. I'd like to coin concede to JC, who joined Patreon during the show. Thank you, JC. Appreciate it. To my anonymous ticket benefactor. Thank you, mysterious person. Pasca and the NPH team for the amount of work they put into everything. I'm in a lot of Hearthstone Discords, and the past, month has been just the no pros here creep that just suddenly Pasca is in all of them and is helpful everywhere. So that's really great. And also the open dashboard that we've got in our Discord is a lot of invites. So really, really appreciate that. And also the cool shout out that he gave us on Twitter where he was telling Bloodyface that we go over Grandmasters matches in our podcast, and then Bloodyface joined the Discord. So Coin Concede to you, Bloodyface. Thanks for being in the Coin Concede Discord. And Kresh, super great guy, supported the show and a friend. And we went to a very pleasant dinner earlier this week that involved some steak that was glistening with fat. So, Kresh.
I'm actually coaching him in 30 minutes.
Oh, tell him I said what's up.
Right.
And that's going to be our show. So keep calm and go craft golden wisps. And if you see us on the ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin Concede.
But wait, the fade out. So now, live listeners, we are going to turn off our mics and cameras and drop from the call. But we are going to play the Alec interview now. It is about 30 minutes long. We're going to play the audio straight into the stream. So if you want to hear it, now is the time. Thank you all so much for being here. And here we go.
Great. What's up, guys?
Thank you.
Alec.
Hey, what's up, Alec?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right.
Great. How are you?
man?
Good. Yeah, just working on stuff today. And there's been some it's cool seeing the reception to the announcement we had earlier today. That's been coming for a while now, so excited to finally share that with people.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk about it for sure. But yeah, I know we're a little pressed for time, so why don't we just go ahead and get into it? So Alec, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you're having a wonderful day. For our listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with you, Why don't you give us a little bit of background, how you kind of got into Hearthstone and what you've been doing in the Hearthstone scene?
Yeah. Well, first off, my name's Alec Dawson. I'm a game designer on the Hearthstone team, on the initial design team, and I got into Hearthstone, I guess, right when it released. And when some of my friends were playing, I was in grad school at the time. Started picking it up. A few months later, hit Legend for the first time. Eventually, started a podcast called Golden Wisp, and that was something we did for 3 years. And I was always following the scene, trying to play, and like I played in DreamHack one time and stuff like that. So I've loved Hearthstone for quite a while now, and it's pretty cool to be on the other side of things for about a year and a half now that I've been at Blizzard.
Yeah, that's super awesome. So you've, as you said, you've been doing a lot of stuff in the Hearthstone scene for quite a while now. I mean, you were doing the content creator thing, you were an aspiring designer. What projects had you had before you got the job at Blizzard that you think helped land you the job where you're at now?
So I went to graduate school for design technology up in New York at Parsons, and then after that, I worked at a small game studio. We made casual mobile games, so I did that for a few years as well. Just designing lots of things. I think one thing as an aspiring designer is for you, those of you out there, is make stuff. You got to get out there and make a bunch of games. In my time at that indie studio, Simple Machine, we made tons of games, right? We made released like 15 games while I was there. So go out and make stuff if you're thinking about it.
And so what about the transition from being just kind of a Hearthstone enthusiast to actually getting to work with Blizzard? What was that like? I mean, you moved all the way across the country. It must have been a pretty crazy thing.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. At the same time, it was something that I feel like I was trying to work towards for quite a while. And the team here and everyone at Blizzard and everyone at Hearthstone has made that experience amazing, right? Just being able to see the passion everyone brings to work every day is something that's pretty incredible. Being on the Hearthstone team and everyone wanting the game to do really cool things and come up with crazy events like the Wild one that's coming up, stuff like that. Once I was able to see that passion and see like where the game, what sort of directions and things like that, I was even more excited than I was before.
And so when you got to Blizzard, fly across the country, New York City, you land in sunny Orange County, you walk in, what's the first project that you're allowed to talk about that you worked on? And what was it like getting started? Because you had made stuff, but transitioning from casual games, as you stated, to Hearthstone, it's kind of a big jump too.
Definitely. I think so. The first day we came in and Peter Whalen, my boss, was like, hey, here's what we're doing. Rotscon's Rumble. Here's a class. Go ahead, make some cards. I was like, wow, first day, I get to make some cards. That was incredible. But the first thing that actually came out was Taverns of Time, the event we did for the arena. A few of us designers got to work on that. And we got to make that special arena set. And it was really cool because as I was learning, all those things that go into making a standard Hearthstone set, we got to make this little thing on the side. I got to break a lot of the rules, get to do things that may not be okay for standard, but could be okay in a limited time frame in a different environment, and play with the elements of time, right? Designing with that flavor already in mind, and all the chromey stuff and everything. So that was really cool. We're gonna do something on the side that was a little bit different, got to bend the rules a little bit, and that came out almost quite a bit ago now. But yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was June 11th, 2018 through July 2nd. And I
feels
guess
like a long time ago.
well, that's been a bit. Like it's in Hearthstone years. That's 4 or 5 sets. That was right before Boomsday came out. So that was that was 4 sets ago.
Years is definitely a long time.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like a fun project to start on because you can just make crazy broken cards and it's like, they'll go away in a month. It's fine.
we did our best to at least not make anything insanely OP, but there's a few ones that are pretty strong.
But it was fun and temporary, and that's okay. And we'll get to that topic later. Don't forget about that. So, and you talked about learning how to make the game was kind of revelatory for you. What do you think is the biggest thing or the most important thing that's worked on behind the scenes that isn't as obvious to the public, to the players, but really makes a difference in how the game ticks?
Really makes a difference in how the game ticks. I think, seeing the machine as a whole, everyone working on it, it's a bigger endeavor than it may seem from the outside. Also, just some of the plans that we have. We're a team that likes. Today we're dropping an event. We're doing a bunch of stuff. And be able to see the future, I think, is something that's really important that it isn't really seen from everywhere, right?
Yeah, I imagine the lead time that you all have, especially you look at Saviors of Uldum, which
Mhm.
amazing set. But you look at the amount of energy that was put into the art and sound design, for example. And
Yeah.
the team did an amazing job on that, but that takes a minute to make, and you have to finish the cards before you can even start on that. So I have to imagine you must work really far into the future.
Yeah, our team in particular, we're usually working about a year ahead as the initial design team. Um, so we're a bit ahead. We're the ones that are coming up with the expansion themes, the concepts, the mechanics, everything that's going into it, and then we're writing art descriptions and writing voice lines for all the things that eventually end up in the game. So it's interesting because at times you'll have worked on these voice lines, and then maybe 5 months, 6 months later, they show up in your client for the first time, and you actually get to hear the voice actor's performance. And that's where some of the magic begins to happen, really, when it all comes together from all this planning that you had months ago.
Wow, that sounds like quite an experience. And speaking of about a year into the future, well, if you've been at Blizzard for a year and a half, a set that came out that you would have started working about a year ago, it's called Saviors of Uldum. You may have heard of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and I think we can safely say, from our perspective here, at least on the cast, it's successful and it's fun and it's popular and there are mummies and all sorts of stuff. So when you set out to design the set, you were around for this. So what were your team's goals when you were making it, and how was the community reaction of the set compared to how you all thought you did?
Yeah, the reaction's been quite positive. I think some of our goals going into Sabers of Doom, we knew we were going to bring the League of Explorers back. So that was one of the top three goals for sure. It's okay, we're bringing them back. We knew we wanted to do no duplicates, and we also knew we wanted to do quests. And we wanted to approach quests in a different way, learning some of the lessons that we learned from quests in the past. So approaching from those mechanics was really some of the starting points we had, and approaching them a tiny bit differently than we had in the past. And how can you make them feel as engaging as they were when they were first introduced, and give new twists on them and provide really solid gameplay? Well, those were some of the mechanical and design platforms that we were starting from. We also just wanted to tell an awesome story. It's the year of the dragon. You have this year-long narrative. This is right in the middle. This is when our heroes are coming to save the day. That was something that was very important to the team to make sure we gave that the attention that it deserved.
Well, I think we can say that the attention worked, and you also you added back in the no duplicate cards, or what does the team call them? I've heard Waylon say he calls them Reno cards. I've heard you and Ixar say you call them no dupes.
We've been calling them no duplicate. Yeah.
So the no duplicate cards. Um, so and originally it was just Reno, and when you came
Mhm.
back to it, it was all four of the League of Explorers with their own throwback to their original mechanic. What prompted you to lean back into that mechanic when you came back?
Well, it's something that the team was really excited about. I think some of those decks are some of my favorite decks, and a lot of the other people that work on the team, their favorite decks in Hearthstone's history, right? Being able to go back and play the old days of Reno Mage and things like that, it's really fun, right? Kazakus is a really fun card too. Um, when we got to the individual explorers themselves, we knew that we wanted to make those decks play a bit differently. So some of the intent there, when we had Dino Tamer brand, we wanted to be a bit more aggressive with what that deck was going to be. With Elise, we wanted to be a combo deck, something that could build up this combo and be able to kill their opponent later on. Reno was something board centric, more of a control tool in that nature, right? And then Finley fits more sort of mid range shell. It's something that's quite adaptive. You're able to, you play it early, you get a really great hero power, but sometimes even if you play it late, you have something that may save you depending on your matchup, right? So we came into that knowing, okay, those four were going to have different archetypes, and then we knew we needed another piece too. We knew we needed a fifth piece, and that ended up being Zephyrus. Zephyrus, one of the cards I think it was pretty early in the sheet. For the first few weeks, we were talking about it, and we came to our gameplay programs with this crazy idea, and they're like, "Hey, we think we might actually be able to do this card." So that started the journey where the no duplicates cards, what we were aiming for, and I think in those terms, it actually ended up really really well. We're pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it's at the start of development. You put Chad Nervig inside the lamp with Zephyrus, and he didn't get to come out until he coded 1,000 lines.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, but the most important thing, what is your personal favorite card from the set to play with, and what do you think is your favorite from a design perspective?
It may be a bit of both for the same one. I think the first day of when Saber's Old Doom came out, I played maybe 20 Mogu Cultist games on ladder, and maybe I might have won a few, but the times I got to summon Highkeeper Ra were probably a bit lower. That card, I think, it's able to tell a story. It is an epic, so there's a bit more leeway in terms of like how complex it is. It's a fairly complex card. It's telling the story though of summoning Highkeeper Ra, and when you get to do it, you feel so good. You get to summon Highkeeper Ra, it does 20 damage to everything, and that feels incredible. So, and I knew the effects, what they looked like throughout that whole process. Our effects team did an absolutely gorgeous job. So I just wanted those effects to come on the screen. So that was part of the goal as well.
That animation, when all 7 of the cultists get together and do the ritual, and then it's like the pew 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 and everything dies. It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite cards. I think cards for me that I really love are cards that tell stories like that in just a few lines of text, and they're the cards that you want to make an entire deck around right when you see it's revealed and you start 3D crafting about it. So that card to me is one of my favorites.
So, what would you say your take on the current standard format is right now in terms of fun and balance? Because it seems like there's a lot of different decks representing pretty much most of the classes right now that are really competitive.
Yeah, you can play a lot of different classes right now. I think that's important. That's something, I think there's a very healthy time in that sense. Also, I've been having a ton of fun. I've been playing a lot of decks that at first may have seemed a little sillier. Like I get to play Quest Rogue with some burgling, and I can have decent performances on ladder. I think that's pretty awesome, right? Being able to have that much fun with the deck and get performance, I think, is something that's really great. So we're definitely pretty happy at the moment with where the ladder itself is, the meta. I think there's some things to talk about, obviously, but overall, pretty good.
Yeah, the meta's in a really good spot, and I'm enjoying it a lot. And out of nowhere, we just got this huge announcement today where y'all are just gonna shake it up really hard.
Yes.
And so we know you can't talk about details right now. We know N'Zoth and Rag. So just in general, how did the team land on the idea of bringing these cards back?
Yeah, there is a process to it. We've been looking forward to doing this one for quite a while. We kind of laid out throughout the year what sort of events we would have. We knew Rise of the Mex was happening, and like what's going to be after that, what's going to come next. And to give you a little background on how we chose some of those cards and how we ended up where we did, well, I think it was really twofold. First being excitement level. Which cards, as players, do we want to see come back? Which cards do we think the community would be excited about? That's something we just wanted to hit on. So there's going to be a lot of old favorites coming back and things that definitely bring some memories back. And that's great. Secondly, looking at what decks were really powerful when we were making decisions and what decks are projecting, what decks are going to be powerful in this environment, didn't necessarily want to give those decks all the tools in the world. So we were trying to push some archetypes that you may think a bit differently about, may need a card or two. So there may be some things that drive some other decks in the coming weeks.
Well, you already answered my next question, so let's go to
what's that? What is it?
So has being on the Hearthstone team changed how you approach and play the game?
Definitely. I think as a game designer, I think you still approach games with that game designer lens a lot of the time. But when we play as much Hearthstone as we do at work, and then go home and play Hearthstone too, I don't think I grind as much as I may have once in the past. But still looking at it and just making sure that going on ladder is fun, is engaging, and making sure I'm going through that process so that I can feel all those things that players are feeling. So there's a bit more weight to it nowadays than there was in the past. But I still go home and play the game, and I still go home and love the game.
So the rise of the mech event was something that was honestly pretty unprecedented in Hearthstone's history. How did the results and feedback from that influence y'all's decision to continue shaking up standard?
So we looked at the year as a whole in terms of what we want to do and how we could use these time periods about midway through expansions to bring exciting events and really make content that was engaging for our community and things that we think the community would like. So we were planning these things at almost similar stages. So we knew Rise of Mech was going to be first, we knew Wild event was going to be second. So that was something we were planning kind of together. And I think when we saw how positive the response was to Rise of the Mech, that got us even more excited to have the Wild event come after it. So we've just been waiting and waiting and waiting, and then finally get to share with you all like some of the things we've been working on for quite a bit.
Yeah, it's so cool to see the new-ish approach of more like active, like tinkering in the meta, sort of, where you're more willing to like adjust cards. It's really cool to see um, the willingness to do balance changes like that, and so frequently too. Um, in terms of like specific things in the meta, I know Ixar's talked a lot on Twitter. He's pretty active on Twitter responding to people, but what would you say your perspective is on combo priest right now? Because I feel like that's sort of the hot topic in standard.
Yeah. Combo priest, obviously, there's some play patterns I think that are not the most fun to go against. Right, when you get killed in one turn, where yes, there's some planning around it. You can play decks that build boards and against it and things like that. So there are some ways to combat it, but it's never fun just dying where you don't expect to, right? And it seems like, oh, well, I just took 48 damage. How did that happen? So I think there's some long-term things that we're hoping to look at and seeing what we can do there. I think there are though strategies at the moment that can combat this deck. I think it's you can play against it. You have to learn how to play it. We have to learn how to really defend against it in a way. But I think overall that we're very aware of it. It's something we've been talking about. It's something that we're trying to see what would be the best plan long term for this in particular.
Yeah, and so we talked a little bit about how you used to run a podcast, and the Golden Wisp, it used to cover tournaments.
Yeah.
So do you have a lot of time to watch these days?
Yeah, I definitely. I watch all the grandmasters and everything. There's two screens at the desk, so on one screen, definitely grandmasters going on, while work's probably happening on the other screen. And we have a fantasy team, so there's a couple players that I root for in particular. Bunny Hopper's on my team, so we're doing pretty good this season. I think Eden might be in first, but I'm right on his trail. I think I'm in second place so far in season 2.
Okay. Well, that answers part of my next question. It's anyone you're rooting for in Grandmasters or hoping to win Bucharest when that comes around?
There's definitely a little story here, actually. So I used to play in a Hearthstone league, and one of my teammates in this league was Eddie. So Eddie was someone that's like we've met before. I mean, just like I always root for him because it's so cool seeing those connections that happened, a few years ago actually come out and like, wow, Eddie's a grandmaster. That's incredible, right? So I always root for him whenever he's playing.
Yeah, that's I do too. I got to meet him in Philadelphia late part of last year, and he's such a nice guy. So I'm always rooting for him whenever he comes on.
Oh, was this back when he was Sehun628?
Yeah.
Many moons ago. Wow. And yeah, he's a grandmaster.
I think he was the first person I played against in one of the first leagues I ever played in Hearthstone. So he's been around. So we heard that you often go home and even play more Hearthstone. Are there any other Blizzard games that you enjoy in your off time? Did you try any WoW Classic when that came out recently, or anything else you dabble in?
Yeah, definitely. At lunch, there's a group of us that play Overwatch. I am not the best Overwatch player in the world, but I we'll play Doomfist, and I will install Doomfist, and I'll do my best. Or I can actually try out Lucio. But we play Overwatch all the time. It's a lot of fun for us being able to play at lunch and, get in there in quick play and stuff, or on ranked as well. So we have a lot of fun with that.
All right, Alec. I have a question that you're welcome to bring back to the rest of Team 5. But be warned, this may lose you some friends. Is a hot dog a sandwich or a taco?
Neither? Is that the right answer?
It's okay.
What do y'all think? I think a hot dog is a hot dog, and that's where my philosophy is at.
Man, we did a whole episode on this. Like, we did a bonus episode. I don't want to give the impression
that... We're an extremely serious
yeah.
Hearthstone podcast, by the way.
That was a bonus episode. That was a bonus, all right? That was extra content, just like this is. All right, I was hoping for a more divisive answer. People are supposed to argue at work, but instead you're busy playing Overwatch.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, Alec. It really means a lot to have you come and join us. I had one kind of more main question I wanted to ask, just kind of a finisher, just kind of more what we can do as content creators and maybe what our listeners could do to give you the best feedback possible or the best way that helps you guys make this game even better than it already is.
We're always going on Twitter, going on Reddit, and reading what the community has to say. I think that's something like, keep reaching out to us, and like we are listening, we are watching, we're looking at everything. So please just when you approach it like on Twitter, you can reach out to me, things like that, if you have questions about anything at GW Alec, and we're pretty active in that space. So feel free to let us know.
Wow, that went by so fast.
I know. Is there anything? Really? It's almost too fast.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to ask before we got to get going? Do we have time to ask anything else?
Let me spontaneously generate another question on our pre-approved list. Let's see. What's the biggest difference from New York City to Southern California?
Bagels. Bagels. I miss bagels.
Bagels.
But palm trees too. Like you get to walk outside with palm trees, so it's a bit of a trade-off.
Yeah. Well, and burritos. You get homemade salsa verde there. We don't have homemade salsa verde.
Burritos. You do get good burritos.
Yeah. What was the biggest surprise about how one part of Hearthstone got made that you were like, whoa, that was completely different than what I thought? And what was the thing that you found that was like, that was exactly how I pictured it?
I don't think anything was exactly how I pictured it. I think the biggest surprise about how Hearthstone was made. It's a good question. I think there actually is a group. Is there a group for you? Okay. I'll answer this real quickly, but then we do have to. We can edit some of this part.
Yes.
The biggest surprise about how Hearthstone was made, I would say, the scale, like how the scale of art and like looking at all the amazing, talented artists that we get to work with and creating some of that card art. I was blown away by all of their talent. It's something I think like as a player, as a competitive leaning player, I didn't necessarily always appreciate. And then I got here and I got to see how that all came together, and it's just fantastic. And they're so talented, the artists that we work with.
Yeah, well, and Alec, thank you so much, and thank you to the Blizzard team as well for helping us to get this interview together. Really great talking to you. Hopefully, then we can catch up at BlizzCon. And
yeah.
And good luck making more cards. I'm excited to see what those remaining 21 wild cards are.
Yeah, you all take care. It was a lot of fun. Can't wait to talk till next time.
Thank you, sir.
All right, bye. Thank you.
See y'all.
Thank you, Cassandra. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. And we're done.
All right.
Stopping. Oh.